All right, so Trifacta. So we are the leader in modern data preparation. Our goal is to empower users to get value out of their data. So what does that mean and what kind of problem are we trying to solve? So just to give you a quick view, I'm sure all of you guys have access to data and you know there's lots of useful information out of it. But of course, in order to get real value from that data, you want to apply to specific use cases that the business needs or that you'll need for internal efficiencies. And the challenge with some of those things is often how do you extract the data, refine it in such a way that it can be used for these downstream use cases, like data onboarding, where you're bringing third-party data, making it standardized, and putting it into your system so everyone can access it. Or if you're training an ML model, how do you make sure that you've extracted the right features and you're able to train the model with clean data? And the last one, of course, is analytics. If you want to understand your data and share it with others, how does it impact your business? You'll often want to prepare your data for analytics. So with a lot of the work being spent there, the challenge is not just that it takes a lot of time, but it impacts a wide range of people. So this isn't going to be one person or two persons. It's actually going to impact a team of people. And in this case, it goes from data analysts to data engineers to data scientists. Right? This is the whole ecosystem, whole chain of users who interact with the data and get value out of it. And what they need to do as part of data preparation to extract value from that is first discover what's inside your various data sources. So whether it be databases, spreadsheet, log files, right? Then structure that data, make sure it fits a standard format so you can use it. Then clean it, make sure you're taking out things like nulls and making sure that it's standardized to expected industry values. Following that, oftentimes you'll want to combine the data with external data sources. So that's where you enrich the data. What you have, you want to enrich it with Salesforce data, you want to enrich it with marketing data, you want to enrich it with internal telemetrics information. All that's great, you perform that transformation. The last steps are then validating it, making sure it meets all your compliance rules, making sure it meets the business rules. And then finally automating it and deploying it into a solution that runs on a periodic basis. So you know that this is, your transformations are being executed and you're updating your data on a daily basis. Okay? So that's where Trifacta data wrangling comes in. This is where we focus to make that process across many different users as efficient as possible so you can quickly get value out of that data. And specifically, what Trifacta allows you to do and uniquely allows you to apply through the Trifacta interface is, number one, we ensure that the domain experts, the people who know the data the best, they can actually visualize and interact directly with that data. Okay? So when transforming it, you can see it, you can extract patterns out from the data directly. I'll show you what I mean in a moment. Following that, once transformations have been defined, oftentimes you'll want to make sure that this can be run on a repeated basis. So that's where automation and operationalization comes in. You want to make sure that that's taken care of, and the system will automatically update that going forward. Of course, all this runs on a single platform that's deeply integrated with the underlying ecosystem so that accessing data, whether it be wherever it is in your data lake, whether it's Redshift, for example, or S3, it's easy to get to, easy to read from, and write to. And the last part is this is also very easy to get started. Our goal is to help that wide range of users, from data analysts to data scientists and data engineers. So it's very easy to get started, very easy to pick up, and we even have a free trial that lets you get deployed within minutes. Okay. The last part I'll show you is what Trifacta looks like, just to give you a sense of what makes Trifacta unique. So here's the main interface that you'll be using with Trifacta to actually understand and transform your data. First thing you'll see is that the data is visualized in a grid, but you'll see things like a data quality bar up top that tells you the quality of your data up front, and a profile and histogram of the distribution of your data. Now, what does that allow you to do? Well, because you can see the data, you can actually interact with it. In this case, we're actually highlighting parts of the data, so you can actually see what is inside your data and kind of extract information out of it. And you can apply one of hundreds of transformations within Trifacta. some of those transformations like aggregation and join to pivoting. Oftentimes people want to analyze time series data, so we have windowing functions, and ability to basically convert the data into any format you need for your use case. The last part I'll call out on this is on the far right, you'll see what Trifacta has. Trifacta has machine learning driven transformation suggestions. What does this mean? It means as you're interacting with data, as you're kind of selecting data values inside your grid, Trifacta will actually suggest to you transformations that might be helpful. So if you're not quite sure how to best utilize your data, in this case, Trifacta has actually identified that that hyphen was a delimiter, right? And what you'll see next, it'll actually suggest the transformation to split it out. So it makes it very easy for any user to pick it up, even if you don't know what specific transformation you're looking for. Okay? So that's a very quick preview of this. Manju will actually go into more detail as part of the overall solution for Malwarebytes. Last plug, promise, is that Trifacta has been around for about 7 years now, and in the data preparation space, we've industry analysts have identified us as the leader. But really, what we want to do is help make all users successful with this. So we really we enjoy being part of these talks, so we can connect with you and help you with any part of your data preparation process. All right, so that's enough of me talking. Let's get on to the main part with Manju talking about Malwarebytes' use case. Manju?
My name is Manjunath Vasishta. I'm the Director of Data Science and Engineering at Malwarebytes. I have more than 16 years of experience in data warehousing, business intelligence, big data, and data science. So in last 16 plus years, I have been working on building systems to handle data. So if you're wondering about my hair loss, it is due to me worrying about data loss all the time and trying to build the systems in order to ensure that it has integrity and 100% truth all the time in the data architecture. So quick introduction about Malwarebytes. Malwarebytes is a trusted brand by millions of individual customers and thousands of businesses worldwide to protect them against cybersecurity threats. We were ranked as a visionary in 2018 Gartner Magic Quadrant for endpoint protection platforms. We have software for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. We are protecting about 60,000 plus businesses worldwide. We have 247,000 plus downloads every day. Millions of customers worldwide use our product. We protect our customers about 8 million plus threats blocked every day. About 187 million plus scans happens worldwide in all machines every day, every month. And then we have together so far we have remediated about 5 billion plus pieces of malware from customers' machines. Just to give you a perspective of our big data infrastructure, big data by the numbers, we are processing right now about 3 billion requests every day. We take all those 3 billion requests and then we pipe it through our big data infrastructure and process them, transform them multiple times, and we also correlate that with historical data. So we process about 750 billion records each day. We have in our big data infrastructure about 3 trillion records stored so far, and we have about 80 plus petabytes of data in our big data system. And all of these data system we have is on Amazon Web Services Cloud. So how did we get so much big data, and how are we processing those big data set? So our business model, Malwarebytes business model, is basically providing customers free software for remediation. So our products you can download from our website for free. You can remediate, you can remove malwares from your systems for free. And if you want to protect your systems, then protection is a premium offering. So basically what we are doing is, in our business model, we try to acquire customers, engage them, and then provide value add for the products, and then for customers, and then convert them over and retain them through multiple other solution offerings. So what it does is it allows us to reach a large number of customer base. As I said, 247,000 downloads are happening from our website every day, and these customers will remediate their machines. They will remove the malwares that is sitting in their machines, and when they see the value add in the product, they at some point in time, we hope that they will get converted over as a premium customer, and then they will go for protection as a proactive step. So what happens is that when customers download the product from our website, we do ask them a question whether they are installing it on a personal computer or on a work machine. So that we know what type of solutions we can offer if we need to have a conversation with them later on. And when the product gets installed, they do get a question, do they want to share the usage statistics with us? And if they do say they want to share the usage statistics with us, we collect those application telemetry, and then we take that application telemetry to analyze what type of threats are being caught, and how is the security landscape looking like, how is the threats landscape looking like, and we analyze the usage of our product, and that's how we are getting lots and lots of telemetry from millions of installations worldwide. As I said, we get about 3 billion requests every day from all of these installations that's out there worldwide. So our journey about big data, I joined Malwarebytes in 2016. And when we had to design this system, and then we analyzed how much telemetry these products are going to send us, we decided we will host all of this in Amazon Web Services. And we built our big data infrastructure on AWS. Our backbone of all the technology stack looks like this. In 2016, we started off with Kafka as a real-time streaming ingestion pipeline. And we took all of the big telemetry, application telemetry that were coming in, and then we piped it to through Kafka. We did a lot of transformations at various stages, and then we stored those information in S3. From there, what we did was we took it into Cloudera Hadoop, and then we built a lot of tables and analyzed all those data sets. In order to build all of these aggregated tables, we used BMC Control-M as our workload scheduling, and we analyzed all of this telemetry using Tableau. So we built dashboards to analyze how the installations are looking like with respect to geography, which part of the world is catching which type of malwares, and then we did this analysis to understand the landscape, security landscape, as well as detections, and try and understand what type of threats customers are facing. But as the industry moved on, so we said we will catch on to what the industry trends are. So we looked at serverless architecture. Then we tied up with a company called Qbol, which allows within Amazon Web Services to have ephemeral clusters. So what it helps us to do is we can now spin up a cluster within Qbol using our AWS infrastructure, and we can spin up the infrastructure at 5 p.m. in the evening, do all our ETL work within 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and then we can spin down the clusters. That way we can achieve economies of scale. To give you a perspective, all of our ETL are right now running within few hours every day. It spins up about 5 p.m. in the evening, and then it does all of the work by 9 p.m. and then all of this Hadoop cluster gets spinned down. That's how we are trying to keep the cost down. Also, what we did was we took all of this processing that we did within Qbol Hadoop clusters, and then we did the processing, and then we put all of this data in S3, and then we started using Amazon Athena. So this is a SQL engine on top of S3. So this allowed us to even further scale our processing, and then look at the data set and keep our costs down, because in Amazon Athena you can actually scan 1 terabyte of data and just pay $5. So all of our workloads now, the Tableau workloads are running on top of Amazon Athena. They run queries. Tableau contacts Amazon Athena, and then they run the queries, and then caches it in Tableau, and then provides all of the reports that we are building out. So when we were doing this, what we did was we looked at our needs, because we had a lot of big data and we wanted to do data science and machine learning and understand how we can predict, how do predictive analytics on how, what kind of threats are going to, infect which types of customers. So we did that using Databricks as a platform, and we also built our enterprise data warehouse using Snowflake. So we did the big data infrastructure, and we did so much good work with big data infrastructure. We were asked to build enterprise data warehouse using and we chose Snowflake because that's a data warehouse that is truly built for the cloud. So we did that, and we used Redis Enterprise in order to cache out all of the real-time data that we are getting in order to provide real-time threat maps and other real-time requirements. While we are doing this, we looked at the industry trends. What we did was Amazon came out with SageMaker, and then we said we have to look at moving even serverless, and then look at because serverless technologies helps us to keep our costs down. We don't have to have our own DevOps or SRE team. These are all managed services, and then companies like Malwarebytes, we can really scale by using serverless technologies and keep our cost down with respect to management. So what we did was we moved on to cloud services. We partnered with a company called Looker, and then for self-service BI analytics on top of Snowflake, and we also moved on to Amazon SageMaker. So that's where we started doing our data science and machine learning. When we did all of this and built big data infrastructure, big enterprise data warehouse, there was a need for us to provide tools to our customers, various departments within the company, who can process data set by themselves and then put the data onto our system. So that's when we thought we have to look at tools that are out there which can really easy to use, and customers are basically when they look at it, it's very intuitive. Our customer mostly were using Excel and other spreadsheet tools. So what we did was we tied up with a company called Trifacta, which is the modern data preparation tool, and we allowed what it did to us was it allowed us to roll out this tool, Trifacta tool, to various departments who can do the data wrangling by themselves, standardize the data set, clean the data set, and then push it onto our systems. So this is our journey. In the last 3 years, we built a big data infrastructure using Kafka, tried out with multiple vendors. We right now have settled on this architecture where all of the real-time streaming ingestion is coming through Kafka. We use S3 as a data lake. We use Kubol for ephemeral Hadoop clusters to keep the cost down. We use Control-M as our workflow scheduling tool, and we use Tableau and Looker for analytics, and SageMaker for data science, and Snowflake is really an enterprise data warehouse for us. There are other use cases that we are trying with Snowflake, or really throw the big data as well on Snowflake. And Trifacta is our go-to tool to democratize data wrangling within our company, and help all of the departments to process data by themselves, so that they don't get bogged down by engineering bandwidth. They can wrangle the data by themselves and then send it to us. So this is another view of what we are doing with cloud. This is our cloud services. If you see here, for compute, we are mostly using Amazon EC2, ECS, and then Lambda services. For storage, we are using S3 and Glacier, and for network, we are within AWS within our own VPC, and we also use API gateways, and we use IAM for our security management, authentication. Data prep, we are using Trifacta. Trifacta allows us to take this tool and democratize data wrangling across various departments. For our big data infrastructure, we are using ETL using Kubol, Hadoop, and Hive clusters. And we use various types of RDS and Snowflake as database. And for analytics, as I said, Amazon Athena is where we use for all our SQL query on top of S3. We also use Tableau Looker that I mentioned, and Glue to build our catalogs. For integration with other systems, we are using Amazon SQS and SMS. And for our management purpose, we are using Cloudability to look at how the costs are within AWS. And for we use auto scaling so that our big data infrastructure can automatically scale without when large volumes of data sets are coming into our system. And we use Datadog for monitoring, and also use certain telemetry. We plug it in FlexDB and use Grafana. And for machine learning, we use Amazon SageMaker, and we also have custom machine learning on R, and then we host that as APIs, Dockerize those, and put it as APIs using Plumber package in R, and then we do the same thing in Python, and then we use Flask. Quickly, so amplifying marketing intelligence. So now that we have discussed about our our infrastructure, what we do, what type of data we get, what is the volume of the data we get, I quickly wanted to touch base on what we do for our marketing team. For our marketing team, we have done a lot of things. I wanted to cover 5 different use cases quickly, and then really go and deep dive into what we do in the second use case and then the third use case here. So marketing team are tasked with generating the pipeline for the company. Marketing team has to look at go and attend webinars, conduct seminars, webinars, events, and then look at other means in order to procure leads whom we can actually talk to and hopefully convert them into a prospect, and from there we can convert them into customer. So to do that, one of the things that we have done is our products are free, as I said. So we take those product telemetry that we get, we look at how the product is being used, and then based on product usage, we try to target customers with value proposition so that we can convert them over as our customers. The other thing that we do is lead sourcing. So we attend, we conduct seminars, events, and webinars, and we also have Contact Me web page, and we also do content syndication, work with other third-party providers to host our content and links, and then we try and analyze that. And we also do in-product messaging. We source leads from various avenues and then analyze them, try and figure out which source can really become a prospect, and from there to a customer. Then campaigns, we also try and do surveys, we also do email campaigns, analyze those campaigns, and then see what type of recommendation we can give to our customers so that we can really benefit out of all the campaigns that we do. And the last thing that we do is attribution study using Google Analytics. So we really look at who are all coming to our websites, analyze what type of information they are browsing through, and at what stage do they really convert over, and then what are the channels through which they are coming in. So we really look at attribution study very carefully, and to understand how much money we should pump into which channels in order to maximize our sales. So as I said, for the product usage, what's the architecture that we have? So here, if you look, all of these are the Malwarebytes installations worldwide, and as I said in the beginning, we also ask them whether they are in the whether they are a personal for personal work or for business environment. So these installations are sending us telemetry, and we host it behind an ELB, and we have a public API, and from there we host it using Kafka ECS containers. So and then the messages are coming in, we are using Kafka as a real-time streaming ingestion, and this real-time data set goes through multiple transformations. We have set of Kafka consumers. One of the consumers will do IP to Geo service. We have tied up with a company called MaxMind. We have a license from MaxMind in order to look at IP to Geo, and because IP is considered as a PII, we don't store IP on our side, but just we look at at a high level from which city, which country, which location this telemetry is coming from, so that we really know if there are any infections or malwares or targeted attacks of ransomware. We can really look at where those attacks are happening, and then we can do a response to those kind of events. The other thing that we do is we look at we have service from a company called Demandbase. We take that IP, and then, as I said, we don't store those IP. We just look at which business is behind that IP. And then all of this information and transformations that we do through Kafka, we take that and then put it in S3, and then we do ETL and then put it in Athena. In Athena, we do run a lot of analytics, and then we do anomaly detections, because we have telemetry coming in. We know which businesses are using them, and if we see certain businesses are being targeted, be it healthcare or be it government or institutions or be it educational institutions, we analyze and we try and detect anomalies to see if they are being attacked, and if there are targeted attacks on these institutions, we go and proactively reach out to them, and then make them aware of their security vulnerabilities, and then showcase our offering and see if we can help them out to protect themselves from cyber threats. We also do monitor which businesses are actually using our product, and how those businesses are working with our product, so that we can really go and buy contacts or leads for those businesses. Once we have those lead sourcing done, what we do is we pipe it through our internal portal called leads portal, and then because these leads comes from different sources, some leads are from seminars, some for events, some from other avenues, and some from the product telemetry itself that we know about. What we are trying to do here is trying to do the standardization, which is the hard part, because we really have to take all of this data set and then understand which business it is, what is the size of those business. Are they small businesses, are they medium businesses, are they large businesses, what is their employee range, so that our sales department, they are structured in a way to respond to certain geographic locations, certain segments, and certain industry classification. So we have to standardize and score them so that our sales team gets really good quality lead. We use Trifacta for that, and then we standardize and score the data set within Trifacta, and then we store it in S3, and then we are this lead is going to Marketo. From there we do email campaigning and try and really understand whether customer is opening those emails, whether they are responding to those emails, responding to those surveys, and we also take it to Salesforce. That's where our sales team will look into those leads and try and give a call to them and see if they have genuine interest in using our product, or really an inclination to understand what we see about them. And we take all of this into our data warehouse system to really understand and do funnel analysis, which is nothing but look at from different sources how many inquiries we are getting, and from there how many became marketing qualified leads. By that I mean every record, does it have a company name, does it have an email address, does it have an industry classification, does it have the employee size, and does it have proper business addresses. All of these things constitutes a marketing qualified lead. From there it goes into sales team, who will contact those point of contacts leads, and then see if they have a genuine interest. And if we see the interest in them, that becomes a sale qualified lead. And from there we take a conversation, we demo our product, and then we try and convert it into an opportunity. So basically what I wanted to cover today is we can really, on cloud, we can really scale systems to a, economies. We can achieve economies of scale. We can really scale our systems to handle billions of information, mine through the information, and then look at solve the needle in the haystack problem, and identify hot leads, identify set of leads, standardize them, score them, so that for companies of our size, we have limited sales team, we have limited marketing team. We have to really be innovative in providing them a solution that helps them, so that they don't have to go through all the leads that are there in the Salesforce system, and they say data is not good, and this lead is not correct, and things like that. We want them to really work on well qualified, good leads, and then convert them over. So we can really build innovative solutions on cloud to handle this. That's the proposition here that I wanted to cover. So with respect to how we use Trifacta, what I wanted to show you is in our company how we are using Trifacta. There is a quick 2-minute demo here that I want to just show you, so you get an idea how our marketing team and business users are using Trifacta. So okay. So here, this is Trifacta tool, and what happens here is that when they log into Trifacta tool, we have built them, a pre-scrub flow here. That's a lead pre-scrub flow here, and we have, prepared this specifically for AWS demo, so that we will not be able to show real email addresses, real phone numbers, and real contact information about our leads. So here, when marketing team gets in, they go to the Trifacta tool, and then they go ahead and click on the lead portal pre-scrub flow here. Once they click on, they just have to, whatever new files that they are getting from various sources, they have to select that file and then upload it into the tool, and then add it to the Trifacta flow. Once that happens, they can really go ahead and process those files. I'll take a pause here. So what happens here is that this flow, now the business user has actually attached a file that they have got from some source, and then there is a recipe that is out here, and the country code, the state code, and the industry mapping, and then state to zip code, and a lot of other mappings are already built into this tool to standardize the data set. So all that the business user has to go and then do is attach a file that they have received, go into the recipe, and what they have to do is take a look at whether the data is standardized or not, and then run the job. It's that simple for them. That's what makes us happy about giving this tool to business users. Here what you can see is that this is coming from a certain endpoint survey that is done, and then people have attended live for this event, and the company name is there, and then first name, last name is there, and then you can see a job titles. All of them are standardized job. The recipe is doing that for us. It standardizes all of the job titles, and then it actually cleans up the phone number. So we have formatting and other rules built into it, so that based on the country code, it knows how to format the phone, and so that when the sales team looks at it for France, they know this is the format for France, and this is the format for Singapore, and things like that. Once they see this visually, it also gives them histogram of data distribution. That's one of the things. of if all of the values within each of the row is complete or not, it can actually tell you within the histogram here. And once they visually inspect this data set, they know that this is good, and once they know that this is good, what they are going to do is just hit the run job button, and they can send this data set to us. Here is what you can see the scoring. So what happens is we can really analyze based on our historical data set and classify whether certain leads are good or bad, and and that comes into our system, and then we have data science models built in to do lead propensity scoring to know how likely this customer is going to convert, and that helps sales team. If the propensity score is high, they can really go after those leads and pursue them for deals. So this is where we throw it into S3 data lake, and once the customer runs the job, it goes into S3, and then on S3 folders we have Lambda triggers configured, so those Lambda triggers will kick in, and then it will push it into Marketo, and then as well as into our data warehouse. Okay, so quickly I want to recap. Sorry. So quickly I want to recap the key takeaways. One of the key things that I believe in is that every small company, every company now have a level playing field with respect to marketing. If you look at it, marketing teams are the ones which are really using data mining techniques and data science in order to really figure out how to maximize generation of pipelines. So now marketing departments of small companies have a level playing field because they can get onto cloud. And to really put it into perspective, what happens is that you can keep your costs down. You can sign up to cloud for free. You can use infrastructure as a service offering that they have, platform as a service offering, and managed services. All of these things can really help you keep the cost down, and as well as take all of the best things that is out there for it and take advantage of it. So I really feel that you can get onto cloud, really get up and running within few minutes, and you can really start with S3 as a data lake initially, and then Athena as a SQL engine. That is a pretty powerful way to start off, and once you start collecting the data set, and if you have a lot of data set, then you can use Amazon SageMaker for data science. The second key takeaway is that cloud features are really there for helping you achieve economies of scale very easily. So previously, in my previous assignments, when I was working with big companies who have their own data centers, what used to happen was if they wanted something which needs to be built very fast, then we could do that, and then we could show it to them. But if they wanted us to build something which is has to have economies of scale, then we had to have projects like 18 months, 20 months, and then build all of these components which are scalable, and then go live with that project 18 months or 20 months later. But now with cloud, you can actually build sophisticated systems, achieve economies of scale. At the same time, the important thing is you can have agility. So if you want to move on to do something else, you can really take components out and then bring in new things, and then be completely agile about it. That's where we have third-party vendors like Qbol, wherein you can really build Hadoop clusters, ephemeral clusters, keep the cost down, and you should actually use managed services where possible, because then you don't have to have a team of DevOps or SREs to hire them, and then they having to manage all this infrastructure, because the managed services will come with all those packages. The third thing is instrumenting data collection, preparation, and standardization is extremely important. That's what our learning is, because even though I joined Malwarebytes in 2016, The company actually started collecting data from 2010 onwards. So they had this vision that data collection is a important thing to do. So when we got in there, we looked at all of this data set that was collected for many years, and then we could analyze all this data and see what the format of this data set is, how much is the volume, and then really build a scalable infrastructure on Amazon to handle billions of records. So use third-party vendors who are really innovating, and then use managed services wherever possible, and then instrument data collection. And if you are instrumenting data collection on your websites, use Google Analytics, and then you can really bring all of those raw hit level data from Google Analytics onto your S3 platform, and then analyze those data set in the S3 platform itself. And if Google Analytics data set is the raw hit level data is coming into your platform, you can do attribution studies. You can look at from which channels the customers are coming into, the visitors are coming to your website, and then really put money into a place where you can maximize your sales. And the last thing, for empowering business users with data wrangling, I think Sean has some cool things to say. I think Trifacta is coming out with the Redshift, right, Sean? Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
So just to, thanks Manju for going through that end-to-end use case and solution. The last part we'll talk about is how you can use Trifacta inside your Amazon solution. So just kind of starting off with, you see, we mentioned earlier, Trifacta has native integration to the Amazon data sources, not just S3 and Redshift, but it can also connect to databases. It supports file formats like Excel, JSON, Parquet, Apple. All that is native and out of the box. You don't have to worry about it, so you can easily read that and transform it. This through Amazon Glue for through the metadata access, but more importantly, it's all using the Amazon security model, IAM, so you don't have to worry about security and governance in that regard. It's there. Now, once that data is available, you can see the users can interact directly with it through the transformation UI. So that's where the Trifacta interface is running. And not only do you can transform and define logic, but that's where you can also define your automation schedules, how you want things to be picked up, how often you want it to run, and monitor its status. Now, under the covers, you may be wondering how this is actually happening. Trifacta actually then executes all this using Amazon EMR. So whatever you have set up with connecting to, whatever EMR cluster you have set up, Trifacta will push that logic into EMR, execute that so it can read from different zones, whether it be landing zone, exploration, refined. It can handle all those different scenarios. With, of course, the end goal is then supplying data to these downstream systems. So whether it be SageMaker, which is the case with Malwarebytes, QuickSight, or other downstream visualization platforms, ML systems, and of course, modeling from that side there. So this is all end-to-end solutions. The transformations Trifacta applies. Manju mentioned standardization, so you can cluster your data and make it very easy to identify mismatches inside of that and fix those. Also scoring, whether you're doing this, sometimes you might want to do identifying outliers inside your data, or in other cases you want to match it against known values. You can do all that within the Trifacta interface. Okay. So last part, I'm going to call Manju back up. So we have questions. We're actually going to cover some of the most common questions that come up for this solution. So I've got a couple of them from there, and then we'll open it up to any range of questions from that side. So the first one that we have is, right, this is great. We built a lot of technology, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of services. What's the benefit? What is the benefit for IT, and what's the benefit for users?
Sure. I have a slide in there if you want to bring it up. Yeah. So prior to Trifacta and then using the Amazon AWS data lake, what used to happen was our marketing team used to get all of these files and leads from different sources, and it used to sit in one place, and then one of the data engineer had to go and take all this in and then paste that into Excel workbook and then run macros and visually inspect all of the leads and then hand it over to a guy who used to upload that into Marketo, and from there it goes to Salesforce, and then from there sales team used to actually take all of these leads and then one by one really reject leads if they are not looking good, and then really go through in the order in which they felt like going through. So what it does is basically there is no focus. If you have got 4,000 leads, then the sales team has to go and then review each and every lead. That has now come down because we can now standardize the data set, and then we can score them. Because it is standardized, we know that if this is a healthcare customer, it has to go to a particular salesperson, and if it is a healthcare customer in EMEA region, it has to go through a particular salesperson. We can route the leads depending upon the data set because it is standardized. And once if we route it into a particular person, then you can take all of these leads and distribute it into number of salespeople and maximize their productivity. So really that's what's happening with us. Every lead that now comes in within 48 hours, we can really we are in a position to go ahead and give a call and see if we can take the conversation further with the customer. That's the benefit that we have had. We have had 3 times productivity improvement. Instead of 5 people looking at all the leads that is coming in, it is reduced to 1 people only, and really we are really doing cost savings with this solution of standardizing and scoring the leads and processing that through Trifacta.
All right. Next question is, so we talk a lot about this range of users that are leveraging the system and democratizing data for all of them. So what was the profile of those users? What kind of skill sets did they have?
As I said, business users are, they want something, where they can work with the data set. Then most of the time what's happening is like, even though we build all of these tools, at the end of the day, sometimes what I get questions is, can you give me this file in Excel? Because that's what they're comfortable with. So when I looked at the requirement in our company, the departments are actually very comfortable using Excel. And if you look at Trifacta, the UI, it's kind of intuitive because there you can actually work with the same way as you do with Excel, because the icons are also kind of similar. And but the great thing about Trifacta is that it also allows us to visualize the histograms of the data distribution, suggest transformations using machine learning, and because of that, what's happening is that as I showed you in the video of Trifacta, they can now take a file, attach it to a workflow, and then visually inspect how the data looks like, and then just run the job. And it's that simple now, and that has helped us really take the data set that's coming in from various sources and then process it really fast.
All right, last one. So we talked about marketing intelligence, but what are the other use cases you want to solve with this, with data preparation?
Sure. One of the things that I do, as a director of data science and engineering, is to really try and understand where the industry is moving and what are the buzzwords and what are the new things that are coming up within the industry. So for that, I look at one of the ways that I look at industry trends is through Gartner Hype Cycle. And if you look at Gartner Hype Cycle for digital marketing and advertising, this Gartner, for those of you who are new to this Gartner Hype Cycle, they really come out with the trends in a nice way, because the x-axis is time and then the y-axis is the expectations. And their philosophy is that a new trend usually comes up because there is a need for innovation. So the innovation trigger demands the new trend, and then once that trigger happens, it goes through its own cycle of vetting, and then once that happens, people have a peak of inflated expectation, because now they understand the possibility of those trends. And then once they have this peak of inflated expectation, people will try out, and then once it goes through that, they know what are the pros, what are the cons, what are the disadvantages, and what are the advantages. So the third section is the trough of disillusionment, which means that maybe it is not a new thing, and maybe it may not work out as it is supposed to be. And then once it goes through the trough of disillusionment, people really understand what it can do, and then the use cases starts to take shape, and then it takes off. And then you have slope of enlightenment. That's where people know this is the tool for this purpose, and then it reaches the plateau of productivity. So with this, in marketing and advertising, we are at the point where we have our data platforms, data management platform, which is already plateau of productivity. We have solved that. And then we are also solving few other things which in those trends, like multi-touch attribution, because we talk to so many potential leads. They attend our seminars, they attend various events, they use contact me, and then there are various ways we touch them. So this multi-touch attribution, we don't know at what point and which touch point we can actually convert them over. So we really look at our data sets and try and understand how this customer got converted over through multi-touch attribution study. The new thing that we are trying to do is customer journey analytics, because it is in the ascendancy phase right now. You can see that it's going up there, and that's what we are trying to do. Really look at customer journey. So when they came into to us, and then we started engaging them in different avenues, what are the things that they did, and then after that how did they get converted over, and after that how are they using the products, and then can we do upsell to them, can we do understand really and partner with them to help them achieve much more through our product offerings. So that's the area that we are trying to do, customer journey analytics. We are trying to build an infrastructure and really collocate all of the data that we have from different sources, and really try and look at and quantify which is the path in the journey that yields us and as well as the customers greater benefits.
Okay. Well, thank you, Manju, and thank you everyone for powering through this. That's it. We have a few minutes for questions.
Could you just ask that if you do have a question, you raise your hand, and Andre and I will come over to you with the microphone.
Yeah, question. So the main, just to clarify, the main customer base for this whole system is provided the internal sales and marketing team within Malwarebytes. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. Is there then in the process of developing this? I know there was historical data beforehand. How is it that you manage the relationship between those teams and expectations, as well as sponsorship for all of the effort? Because it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get that done, especially through the timeline that you talk about, introducing and take new technology and taking some out until you finally stabilize to something. How is it that you manage through all the iterations of that, and also working and managing the expectation bubble or depression with the customer base?
Sure. Thanks for that question. So what we do is we have quarterly roadmaps, and what we are trying to do with our customers, which is internal marketing and sales team and product team, is what we are trying to do is take data and then be really a thought leader in that space, because they haven't seen what is possible with data. So when I joined Malwarebytes, our main charter was to make the company a data driven company. For that we had to collate and keep all of the data and then tell them what is possible. So what I did was we had a collation of the data set. I have data engineering team and data analytics team and data science team. So we created these projects. One of the projects that we did is lead propensity score using data science model. So in Amazon SageMaker, we take all of this lead, and then we have historical leads, and then we do a generalized linear regression models, and then look at which parameters are important, and then see is there any correlation. So of all the leads, what are the titles of the people whom are actually maximizing conversion, right? So those kind of things we did. So we did lead propensity scoring, we did opportunity survival model, and then we did complete analytics on lead to opportunity funnel analytics. And when we did this and presented to them, they realized the possibilities that are there with this big data infrastructure. And then so that's how we kept on churning out new models and then new understanding. We came up with hypothesis which might work, which will not work. We looked at it through data driven we did that with data driven exercises, so that we can really tell them what they can do with data. So once we told them all these different exercises we did, we started getting funding to go after and sign up contracts with these vendors, and then throw a lot more data set. And now we are doing within big data itself, we are doing clustering, and we are also doing certain persona based analysis, things like that. I'm happy to talk about the scenarios.
Did you actually partner with like specific individuals within the customer teams, like the specific marketing director or the specific, so that you can get that one-on-one sponsorship and or mind melt to say, at least there be your quote unquote champion within those.
Oh yeah, that's part of my job, job duty.
Well, no, that's
I have
job
to,
in your
yeah,
group,
yeah.
But I'm talking with the other group. Okay.
Yeah, I have to actually go and talk to SVPs and others, and then get them on board in order to really get them excited about things and possibilities that we can do with data. So we have done that exercise with all of the senior vice presidents within the company, and got them by our side in order to get the desired benefits out of our study and analytics and data science within using the big data.
A couple of questions. One is like you talked about standardization. So if you have like some data in that diagram that you had shown which doesn't meet the standardization criteria, curious what happens in that scenario.
Sure. So what you can do, so first of all, you notice how we profile the data, so you can actually understand what the range of data is. But actually, if you clicked on that column, you'll see the underlying patterns within it. And then from there, you can actually launch a grouping clustering tool that shows you how that data is distributed and what types of, what groups of data you have. From there, you can actually then either apply a pattern that you want to change it to, or you can type in what exactly you want that standard value to be. So once that's defined, then under the coverage you're building actually standardization, almost like a dictionary that's going to be looked upon against and compared. So that's how you actually standardize any given column, making sure that it actually complies to a certain pattern, like you can format it for dates, or you can specify for certain values. If you want to compare this against a standard value, you can do a lookup against that and make sure that that gets standardized as well. Does that make sense?
I'm curious a bit about the pricing structure. Is it per event or per megabyte or something like that?
So this is since it's something so Trifacta has different options for this. In this case, you can actually deploy it on your ecosystem, so it's more of a environment-based solution that's on a per-user base that then executes on your EMR cluster. So that's one option. We also have a serverless option that you can also apply, which is a little bit more, again, user and consumption-based. Okay.
So there were a lot of technologies, like you guys were using Cloudera, and then you change it, and then you brought something else. So a couple of things you did it. So is it in the last 3 years you guys did it? That's number one. Number two, how did you guys move the data across the different technology?
Yes. Yes, so I joined Malwarebytes in August 2016, and after that, we have really, worked hard to keep pace with the changes, and that's one of the reasons why you see a lot of technologies, and the diagram is just a, a showcase of what are the important technologies that we have, but we have all other tools and other things that we continue to evolve in our ecosystem. So to answer to your question, we did that within the last 3 years. The reason being that when we got onto Amazon in 2016, there was no Athena, there was no SageMaker, and then certainly there was, we hadn't heard about Snowflake at that point of time. But as we, that's one of the advantages of being in cloud, is when we hear about something that's new out there, it allows us to really, change gears and be agile about it. We can really build all this complex system, but yet be agile. That's what those transitions in technology shows here. That's what we have done. When we did Cloudera, that was a thing at that point of time. We realized that we have to ingest all of this data set. So we said we will go with Confluent Kafka, and then once we got confidence, we moved on to community edition of Kafka. And once we got to know about Qbol, we said, okay, we want to reduce our cost. So we went with Qbol, and then we said we will move all of our workloads to Qbol. So all of this changes. One thing that's common there is S3 as a data lake strategy. So if you have that S3 as a data lake strategy, the data is sitting in your S3, and then you can actually take that and then move it to wherever you want to. So when we signed up and we said we will go with Snowflake, S3 as a data lake strategy helped us to really be on Snowflake within 2 weeks time, because now you can actually use Snow pipes and take all of these things and put it in Snowflake, right? So that's the key thing here is you have to process all of these data set, but you have to keep it in a single location. And I believe that any new company that comes in, they will provide connectivity to S3, because that's how they can entice customers to get onboarded quickly and then use those tools. That's what we have done. So when we started with cloud, and then we looked at our understanding of cloud has continuously changed, because one of the things is as New York Times columnist Tom Friedman says, back in the old days, people wanted to have settlements on the banks of the river, because the river provided transportation, energy, and nourishment. And now, in the river is basically Amazon River, but now people want to have their settlements on Amazon.com, because that's where the global flow of digital information is. So we said we will be on Amazon, and then once our understanding kept changing, we kept it changing in tune with the understanding. So we moved from Cloudera to serverless, ephemeral, and then now to manage services, so that we can really keep our cost down and scale the systems. So our SRE team is basically a 3-member team which is handling all of these technologies. And with this 3-member team, they don't spend much time in the night, because everything is managed services. That way, all of these systems are scaling. It's behind auto scaling groups, and it's handling. And if there is high volume information coming in, we won't even know about it until we go next day morning and look at the charts, because things are scaling automatically. So based on our understanding, we are trying to keep up with the changes and really try and be innovative. And that's one of the reasons our engineers will try and be with us, because given our brand name and given the location where we are, our engineers can go and work for big companies anytime. But if we really innovate and keep up with changes and introduce new tools and technologies and be in the cutting edge, the engineers will also get motivated and be with us for a longer time.
All right, that concludes our event.